would like to hand the conference over to Mr. Diwakar Pingle from Christensen Advisory. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Janice. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining the Q4 and FY21 earnings call of Anupam Rasayan India Limited. The results from the investor presentation have been mailed to you and also available on the stock exchanges as well as our website. In case anyone does not have a copy of the same, please do write to us and we'll be happy to send it over to you. To take us through the results of this quarter and the full year and answer questions, we have today with us Dr. Kiran Patel, Chairman and Non-Executive Director, Mr. Anand Desai, Managing Director, and Mr. Afzal Malkani, the Chief Financial Officer. We'll be starting the call with a brief overview of the company from Dr. Patel and Mr. Anand Desai, which will be followed by a detailed breakdown of the financial highlights by Mr. Malkani. This will then be followed by the Q&A session. I would like to remind you that everything said in this call, which reflects any outlook for the future or which can be construed as a forward-looking statement, must be viewed in conjunction with uncertainties and the risks that the company faces. These uncertainties and risks are included but not limited to what we have mentioned with prospectus filed with SEBI and the annual reports which you'll find on the website. With that said, I will now hand over the call to Dr. Patel. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you. A very good evening to our investors in India and good morning to all our investors in USA and Europe. I welcome you to our first earnings call post successful launching of Anupam's IPO in March of 2021. First, let me thank all of our investors for the tremendous support and confidence in the Anupam management team under the stewardship of our Managing Director, Mr. Anand Desai, and our Chief Financial Officer, Afzal Malkani. The year March 21 will go in the history as the worst pandemic of the last century. The loss of human lives, the challenges of lockdown, loss of income for daily wage earners, along with many other socio-economic challenges and its impact to individuals and families is very hard for anyone to describe. My prayers to the Almighty God to give all of us the strength to navigate through this storm. I want to remind you all that only great leaders can navigate turbulent business climate just as well as they can sail a calm sea of activity. Anupam leadership has come together with many inspiring and innovative ways to ensure both our investors and employees thrive during these turbulent times. As you are aware, during the 3 years prior to our IPO, Anupam has made 34% growth year after year. I am proud to say that during the fiscal year 2021, in spite of COVID and its challenges, the company showed a top-line growth of 55%, from 540 crores to 837 crores. The EBITDA growth of 51% from 145 crores to 220 crores, and profit increased 32% from 53 crores to 70 crores. This robust growth is partly due to the foresight of the leadership in investing over rupees 800 crores for capex prior to the IPO. I want each of the investors to know that you have invested in a company that believes both in innovation and social responsibility. Our four legs of business focuses on 1. Quality, 2. Innovation, 3. Environmental sustainability, and 4. Human and social responsibility. I want to emphasize that our growth and profitability is due to innovation of product development, of synthesis, and manufacture of life science related and other specialty chemicals which involve multi-step synthesis and complex technologies for a diverse base of Indian and global customers. These goals are reached by ensuring our attention is to environmental sustainability and not compromised by the current year and the profitability. This current year, we have invested in solar power that will be adding over 10 crores to the bottom line. We are also exploring wind power and at the same time attempting to have almost zero effluent waste during this period. During the COVID era, every single staff member received full salary, whether he or she could come to work or not. We had made sure that appropriate COVID precautions are taking place at the workplace. We provided transportation to those in need, and we provided extra 3,000 meals per day to ensure the nourishment of our workers. The senior management and the board are cognizant of trust and responsibility all the investors have placed on us. We commit to all our investors that responsible growth and steady long-term growth will be our goal. We believe that with your support, the company is well primed to move to the next orbit of growth, both organically and inorganically. I will now hand over to Anand Desai, our Managing Director, for his remarks. Anand?
Thank you, Dr. Patel. Let me also welcome all the investors to this first earnings call of Anupam Rasayan India Limited and hope all of you are safe and healthy. While Dr. Patel has given a broad understanding of the company, let me just dwell a bit deeper into the evolution of Anupam along with our current positioning within the industry and how we believe we can address these opportunities in the future. As most of you know, Anupam Rasayan was established in 1994 as a manufacturer of conventional products. We have come a long way from that to be one of the leading companies engaged in the custom synthesis and manufacturing of life science-related specialty chemicals and other specialty chemicals, which involve multi-step synthesis and complex technologies for a diverse base of Indian and global customers. The company began supplying antibacterials to European customers in 2006, and it is still the primary supplier of these products. In 2010, we started supplying agrochemical intermediates to Syngenta, as has been explained that Anupam Rasayan has a differentiated model of taking and building our own technologies rather than taking technical support from customers. To further put some light on our business plans, Anupam Rasayan is a unique company in the Indian specialty chemical industry, since our focus is not only on developing new high-quality products, but also on adhering to the strict quality standards of leading multinational corporations worldwide. As we are all aware, through our technology prowess and strong relationship with our existing clients, we have developed a strong position in life science related specialty chemicals, and currently for many products, we are the only one of the two suppliers of the product and with zero attrition rate of customers till date. Anupam Rasayan is one of the few companies with a strong capability and track record of commercially manufacturing products using continuous process technology. It gives me immense pride to inform you that we are currently in the initial stages of developing technology and processes for photochemistry, and that too on a continuous basis, and are in the development stage of 3 different products, and the future looks very promising for them. We are also working on a new molecule at a very advanced stage, whose application will be in the new advanced technologies in the telecom sector, which will be rolled out globally in the near future. We are one of the few companies who will be manufacturing this molecule globally. Some of the notable key developments in the quarter completed are: in April 2021, we have bagged order worth rupees 1,100 crores from one of the top 10 multinational life science companies for 3 different molecules, which are to be supplied over a period of the next 5 years. And then again in May 2021, we bagged another order worth rupees 540 crores for 2 new molecules from 2 different multinational companies, of which one is an existing client and the other one is a recently acquired new client. And both the deals are in the field of life science chemicals, specialty chemicals. These new orders are testaments to our R&D, technology and quality, making us a preferred partner for top MNCs for the products in our key chemistries. We would also like to inform you that we are in an advanced stage for signing new deals with various top MNC clients, for which we will update you on time-to-time basis. These orders are also a step towards our strategic goal of value re-engineering, that is to move towards high-value products. We have continued to strengthen and optimize our portfolio by adding new customers, and for instance, have added 2 large multinational companies as customers in this last 5 months, which will broaden the company's geographical footprint and product expansion goals. As mentioned by Dr. Patel, our EBITDA and EBITDA margins have remained resilient and expanded to rupees 220 crores, and the margin has expanded to 26%. Our time-tested relations with our suppliers and our clients helped us in these difficult times to deliver such strong numbers on the EBITDA front. Our bottom line has expanded by 32% over FY20, and we have ended FY21 on a high note of 70 crores. In line with our commitment to returning value to our shareholders, our board has recommended a final dividend of 50 per equity share. For a long-term perspective, I am confident that our company is well positioned for the coming year and beyond with our recently concluded CapEx program. We will continue to manage all aspects of our business proactively while monitoring and responding to changing market conditions. We remain committed to growing earnings per share and improving return on equity while actively pursuing growth opportunities. I would like to express my gratitude for your continued interest and investment in Anupam Rasayan. Regardless of the obstacles we face in these exceptional times, we are committed to providing above-industry benchmark results and increasing our shareholder value. This concludes my planned remarks. And now, Mr. Afzal Multani, our CFO, will talk you through our numbers in detail. Afzal bhai?
Yeah, thank you, Anand bhai. Good evening, everyone. Now, I will quickly take you through the financial performance and key developments in the company during the Q4 and the full year ended March 21. For the quarter ended Q4 21, we reported consolidated total income of INR 274 crores compared to INR 165 crores in the same period last year, a YOY growth of 66%. Consolidated EBITDA and PAT during the quarter grew by 60% and 113% respectively at INR 65.49 crores and INR 22.14 crores, compared to INR 40.93 crores and INR 10.38 crores in the same period last year. EBITDA margin was stable at 24%, while PAT margin grew from 6.28% in Q4 FY20 to 8.08% this quarter. We would like to inform you that in Q4 21, 80% revenue growth came from the recently commercialized units and products. For the full year 21, the total income grew by 55% to INR 837 crore from INR 540 crores in the previous year. As of FY21, Life Science segment contributed 91.62% to the sales, while 8.38% was from the other specialty chemicals. This growth was driven by capacity utilization of newly commercialized unit number 5 and number 6. Both these units were commercialized in March 2020, and this was the first year of commercialization of both the units. In FY21, the capacity utilization for both these units were 52% and 59% respectively. If we talk from the demand point of view, then out of the total growth, 80% growth in FY21 came from recently commercialized units as well as recently commercialized products. We commercialized about 10 new products in FY21, which contributed significantly in the growth. As far as revenue breakup in terms of geography is concerned, in FY21, the contribution of India was 42%, Europe 28%, Japan 15%, Singapore 10%, China 4%, and rest of the world 1%. Our top 10 customers contribute about 81% of the total revenue. However, there are total more than 20 products in this. And for most of the products, we are either sole supplier or second supplier of the products for these customers. Now coming on to the EBITDA. Then EBITDA rose by 51% to INR 220 crores in FY21 from INR 145 crores in FY20. EBITDA margin was stable at 26%. PAT for the year stood at INR 70.30 crores compared to INR 53.20 crores in FY20, reporting a 32% increase. PAT margin for the year was 8.40% in 21 as against 9.86% in 2020. There was a reduction in PAT percentage in 21 due to the provision of rupees 6.68 crores of income tax in 21 due to short provision of tax in earlier years. So FY21, the taxation provision was 29.70 crores against rupees 18.5 crores of FY20. Another reason is that our depreciation and finance cost increased from rupees 74 crores in FY20 to rupees 120 crores in the FY21. We as a company always believe in maintaining a strong balance sheet. As a prudent measure, we repaid certain borrowings aggregating to rupees 470 crores from our IPO proceeds, which has brought down the debt. With the total repayment of rupees 560 crores debt, there will be a significant saving of 50 crores in the interest cost in the current financial year, which is FY22. As on 31st March 21, our debt equity ratio has come down to 0.28 times. Now coming on to the capital expenditure. Then in last 4 years, we have done a front-ended capex of rupees 800 crores. This includes about rupees 400 crores for unit number 5 and unit number 6. And as we discussed, the last year, the capacity utilization was 52% and 59% for unit number 5 and 6. And this capacity utilization will increase to 75% in the current year. And the following year, capacity utilization for both these units will be about 90%. Because of this, our fixed asset turnover ratio was on the lower side. However, it improved from 0.56 in FY20 to 0.76 in FY21. In the current year, FY22, it will improve further to 1, and the following year, FY23, it will further improve to 1.3. If our fixed asset turn improves, then obviously our ROC will improve. And considering our revenue growth and cost reduction measure, we are expecting ROC to improve to 20% in 2 years. Now coming on to the working capital cycle, then our focus is also on improving our working capital cycle going forward. Our net working capital cycle was about more than 200 days in FY21 due to higher inventory and receivables. The company had to keep higher inventory to mitigate raw material price volatility. As you know, we offer a single price for the whole year to our customers with whom we have a contractual agreement. On the other side, we do not get a single price for more than 3 months from our suppliers. That's why we need to keep a high inventory. However, we have initiated the discussion with our customers to negotiate the price half yearly instead of annually. And by the end of this year, we will see significant improvement in our inventory. Again, as a recent development on credit rating, and we are glad to inform you that recently our credit rating has been upgraded to CRISIL A from CRISIL A minus. And the outlook for remaining quarters remains positive. And with this, let us close our opening remarks. We would be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Rohit Nagaraj from 3D Securities. Also, I would like to remind participants to please limit your question to 2 per participant only. Over to you, Mr. Nagaraj.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity and congrats on the IPO and the first year of good performance. So the first question is on the new product development. So as you indicated in your opening remarks, we have developed 10 new products and taking the total to 43. What is the pipeline for the next 2 to 3 years, including the new products or new long-term contracts that we have got during the last couple of months? Thank you.
We have been working. First, I would try to address, and after that, Anand Bhai can add on to this. First, we have been working on about 16 new molecules in our R&D and pilot facilities. And we have a long-term contract with our customers. And at any given point of time, as you know, we have been working in different type of business model in which we have a contractual agreements. And by way of these agreements, we can say that every year, out of the total estimated revenue, about 60% is committed revenue. And we try to achieve this ratio of contractual agreement with our customers every year. And these agreements require the customer to release the orders quarterly. And apart from this, in the specialty chemicals, we have been supplying a few products for which there is a long track record of offtake from multinational customers. So though we don't have a contractual agreement for this, we can consider it as a commitment from customers. And for this business also, our customers are out of top 10 global agrochemical companies to which we supply key intermediate for the strategic and products. To summarize this, we can say that overall we have a visibility of about 80% of the revenue in any financial year.
Sure. Thank you. So the second question is on the capacity utilization front. So we have had a 74% utilization in FY21, which leaves relatively limited scope in terms of further utilization level. So what is the plan of action in terms of our next phase of expansion and the capex related to that, including the capex for the 2 long-term contracts? If you could just give a broader split up on the capex plan across FY22 and 23 and between the long-term and probably on the organic front. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a sufficient capacity available to achieve the projected growth till FY23. To take care of the growth from FY23-20 onwards, 24 onwards, we may need to go for the expansion, but for that we will decide in next year. And also, as you spoke, we executed couple of LOI recently for which we need some minor capex, not a significant amount. We may need to do a capex of rupees 40 to 50 crore rupees, which we can do out of the internal accruals of the company. And capacity-wise, as I already mentioned, that in the current year we will be at a 75% capacity utilization for unit number 5 and 6, and in the next year it will be 90%. And this is sufficient to take care of the growth till FY23.
Fair enough. The 40 to 50 crores is per annum number, if I'm not.
Yeah, this
CapEx,
50 crore. Yeah, 50 crore rupees is for the one-time capex. Yeah.
Okay, that combines FY22 and 23.
Yes.
Right. And just a small question on capex for number for FY21, actual capex.
Yeah, FY21 capex was around 140 crores.
Sure. Thank you so much and best of luck, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sudarshan Padmanabhan from Sundaram Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. So my question is, you had reiterated, about long-term contracts and also the earlier participants spoke about it. In your, overall strategy, one is, we are, looking at, further such contracts coming in. What is the optimum mix of long-term contracts, that you believe should be optimum? Because one is always, visibility versus maneuverability. So if you can give some color on that, and, does, have incremental orders or, sales come from customers situating in, Japan and China? Because that is where we have seen a fair amount of growth happening on a year-on-year basis this year. So should this be the, area or the region which drives growth going forward as well?
Yeah, sure. We can consider, as I mentioned earlier, that out of the total revenue at any given point in every year, 60% is committed. And for the remaining 25%, though we don't have any contract, but we have a long track record of offtake from the customers. So rather than going on to by the orders or the total value, we can say that any of the projections, whether it is FY22 or FY23, at least we have a clear visibility of 80 to 85% revenue, out of which 60% would be contracted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the region, incrementally, because Japan and China seems to be fairly very strong this year. So should we assume similar regions should contribute higher?
Yes, for the most of our future revenue or of the projections, it is 70% under contractual terms, and which we have a long-term contract of 3 to 5 years. Particularly, even if you talk about the European customers, then we have a contract of 3 years, and if we talk about the Japan, then we have a contract of 5 years. So we have a clear visibility about that. And further, if we talk about the domestic customers, then also for the key customer, we have a contractual agreement. And for the remaining products, we have a multiple customers for single products. For here also, we have a clear visibility about this revenue.
Yeah, sir. And on the, interest cost and working capital, one is the interest cost in this quarter, seems to be a little higher. Given that we have repaid substantial amount of debt. So has there been any kind of one-off in the interest cost? And number two, if you can elaborate, given that the working capital is still on the higher side, as I understand that COVID did play a little spoil sport on the inventory side. So from a longer term perspective, what should we be looking at optimum inventory? Inventory level as well as working capital days.
Yeah, your first question was about the interest, which is 68 crore rupees. In this year, all the project was commercialized. So earlier, the interest cost was some part of the interest cost was capitalized, and in this year, 100% interest cost was in revenue in nature. So that's the reason it looks on higher side. And now, coming to your second questions about the working capital cycle. So in my opening remarks, I have covered the reason for increase in why we need to keep a high inventory. In addition to that, I would like to add into this my remarks regarding the inventory that in a couple of products, we are either a sole supplier or second supplier in which we have a contractual agreement with customers. And certain agreements require us to keep us minimum inventory because our customers are largely depend on us for their supply chain. And we also need to keep in mind unforeseen situations. Just for example, recent COVID-19 pandemic. If we had not maintained this level of inventory, we would not have been able to supply material to our customers with whom we have a contractual agreements. we would not be, otherwise we would not have been able to register a growth of 55% in FY21 despite the pandemic. So that's the reason we need to keep this inventory. And the second reason is that we have been offering a single price to all our customers for more than 10 years. And considering the size of our company, we were not in a position to negotiate our terms and conditions with our customers. But now we are a growing company and our objective to date has been to grow. But now we have reached a stage at which we can negotiate terms with customers in our favor. And in the past, the objective has been to establish the long-term strong relationship. But now we have already proposed to our customers to decide the price half yearly instead of annually. And if we do this from this November onwards, then by end of this financial year, you can see significant improvement in our inventory.
And is there any specific days that we have in mind, inventory and the working capital days?
Yes, for the inventory day, it will improve to 165 to 170 days.
Okay.
And gradually after that, it will further improve to 130 days.
Okay. And just one final question, if I may, squeeze in. Sir, we have basically been a pioneer in process chemistry. And we have talked a lot about it, and I just want to understand, where are we in terms of, gearing the maximum advantage over it? Because I understand, once this is in place, you have lower effluents, higher return ratios, and better margins. And therefore, the company's, the entire, the way the company looks will be completely different. So how much of it has been achieved in this and how much is probably what we are targeting? And also given that you said that we have good visibility of 80-85% of the sales, what would be your guidance for the next year as far as sales is concerned, sir?
Yeah, before Anand I can add into this, but first I would like to address your second question on the guidance for the current year. As we have been growing at 34% in last 3 years, and we are expecting the same type of growth trajectory in the current year as well as from the next year. Yeah, Anand bhai, would you like to address first questions?
Yeah. So on the chemistry part, on the new product development, we try to focus on products which are having a significant entry barrier in terms of process chemistry or process engineering. We focus on such products. That is why we are into specialty chemicals bracket. We don't want to manufacture products which are into a commodity style or into commodity price products. So that is the reason as to why we focus on difficult to make products, and all the products that we are manufacturing currently will have some delicate process handling on that side. So that is where we are good at, and we will continue to focus on that.
Sure, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. I'll join back with you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, if you wish to ask a question, please press star then 1 on your touchtone telephone. Next question is from the line of Ankur Periwal from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi sir. Congrats for a good performance there. So first question on the product side, you did mention, in the presentation we have, significantly increased the number of products here. And you did mention on the newer products that you are working on. So, if I look at the company from a 3-5 year history, there has been a significant ramp up in our new product development. So my first question is this, jump that we have seen in this year, should one expect this run rate to continue? And from your own experience over the years, how has been the molecules under process or the work in progress there? How has it shaped up over the last few years and your outlook ahead?
Yeah, first I would like to address about the growth, and after that Anand bhai can add into this. Yes, we have been growing at 34% CAGR in last 3 years, and as I mentioned, in the current year as well as in the next year, we will be grow with the same pace. In view of the capex incurred by us, we have a sufficient capacity available, and we have a back-to-back contract from our customers.
Yeah, Ankur, and also just
Sure.
to add on to what Abdul Bhai has mentioned, that we have been working quite hard, and you have seen us getting the LOIs and contracts for 5 new products which will come into play in the next 5 3 starting from after this monsoons, and which will be adding to the bottom line and top line in the next 5 years quite significantly. But at the same time, as we know, we are an R&D driven company, so at any given point of time, we work on 100 or 120 products. We have a large pool of scientists, almost 60 people plus, highly qualified guys working in our R&D center, in which we are developing, as I mentioned, 120 products at any given point of time, and which are custom-driven products, the customer-driven products, and we tend to bring every year around 2 to 3 products. That is our dream, that is our idea. And these are large tonnage products. And as I mentioned in my opening remarks, that recently we are on the verge of doing a large product for a very large telecom major. This will be for new technologies which will be rolled out in the next few years. And these are very high value products, almost akin to electronic chemicals. This is what shows the strength of Anupam going forward. And as I mentioned, we are R&D driven company working on a lot of products at the same time, and out of which we tend to bring 2 to 3 products out every year as a product. So that's the kind of percentage. So at 120 products working, and we get 2 to 3 products out. I hope so.
Sure, Anand bhai. Yeah, that's helpful. And a related question here. Now, from a growth perspective, while Anand Afzal bhai did mention the asset turns and the ramp up that we are seeing and the revenue visibility there. But will it be fair to say that most of these incremental products will be margin accretive as well, or do you expect these, let's say, the gross margins that we are earning right now, which have been stable at around 58-60% over the last this year and last year? Should we expect this run rate to broadly continue going ahead as well?
Yeah, Ankur bhai, if you see last 7 or 8 years, we tend to work on a high EBITDA margin products only, and that is also what differentiates us from the our peers. That we tend to take products which are difficult, and when their products are difficult, there has to be a right measure of reward to it, and that is in the EBITDA margins. So yes, you are correct that there are margins which have been showing the last 8 years will continue in the future also. And of course, that is something which we really tend to work upon.
Sure, sir. That's encouraging. And just one clarification: the new deals, which we had signed, the 2 ones, which we had put up on BSE as well. In sync with what even Afzal bhai was highlighting, the negotiating of the pricing front on a 6 monthly basis versus 12 monthly. Will it be fair to presume that the new deals that we have already signed, or which we will be signing incrementally, will be on these new terms? The revised pricing of 6 months and not fixed pricing for 12 months.
Yeah, so as Afzal mentioned, that in the initial phase for a new product, we tend to take the confidence of the customer. And so in the initial phase, this may not be true, but at that point of time, the volumes are quite less in the first 2 years. And the products, and then the volumes really start ramping up from the 3rd and the 4th and 5th year based on the duration of the contract. So in the initial small volume phase, this may not be true, but going forward, yes, we have started emphasizing this to all the customers that we would want to go for a 2-tier pricing strategy for the whole year supply. So volumes are defined for the whole year by the customer, and as it is a pass-through cost sheet, so it is in their favor also. If the raw material prices go down, we pass on the benefit in the half year. So the customers are also quite happy to take this forward. Of course, if the prices go north, then there's a question for them, but it's fair, and customers are quite fair because we are a service supplier for them. We cannot be changed overnight. These products are registered worldwide, and so they have to give us the support in terms of any price sensitive issues. And at the same time, we also play fair. When a customer trusts us, we also tend to pass back the price back when there is a drop in the price, and we are very fair. When as far as my margins are safeguarded, and if there is an excess part, I tend to pass back. But at the same time, shareholder value, it comes first. Yeah.
Great, sir. That's helpful. That's it from my side. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants again, please limit your question to the participants only. The next question is from the line of Swarna Mukherjee from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. So, 2-3 questions from my side. First of all, on the long-term contracts, so this 1,100 crore contracts that you have mentioned. So, from when shall we start booking this revenue, and till for how many years will it go?
Yeah, this 1,100 crores contract, the revenue will start from last quarter of FY22, FY23. And this is for the 3 products, and this is for the 5 years. And we can say that there will be a revenue of rupees 225 crore rupees per annum.
Okay, and this will have a dedicated facility, sir?
No, this will be multi-purpose plant.
So you will also use the same facility for your other commitments also outside these 2 products?
Yes, for out of these 3 products, 2 years, and for 1 we need to go for the minor capex.
Okay, sir. And on the product development and customer acquisition side, sir, wanted to understand how this happens. I mean, do you identify and catalog products and then undertake campaigns related to that? Or is there, a invitation that comes from the customer on the product development side? Or if both of this is happening, what would be the broad mix from, that you see?
Yeah, this is from the both sides. We have also been working on the products, which product is going to be off patent and which customer is consuming which products. And on the basis of that, we also proposed to the customers that we have expertise in this. Also, in the existing product, we also propose the forward integration to our customers. Then instead of taking intermediate, we can supply the active ingredients to them. This is this initiative from the our side. And on the other hand, our customer has also a huge technical team, which is evaluating the capabilities of all the suppliers based at India as well as abroad. So they know which supplier is good at which chemistry and what is the capabilities or infrastructure of the suppliers. On the basis of that, they allot the project to the suppliers. It's not the usual practice that they give a single project to 5 suppliers. Maximum they can give any project to 2 suppliers, with maximum 2 suppliers. So in that way, we get a new product.
Okay, sir. Sir, and one more question on the margin profile. At the EBITDA level, so if I look at the numbers for your maybe last few quarters which you have filed on the exchanges or last 2-3 years, this number. So generally, I see that as a EBITDA margin profile is in and around 20 to 25% in that way. Going forward, is this the range that we should look at while understanding your company, or would you be looking at a much narrower range with a uplift in the margin? If you can throw some color on that.
Yeah, definitely. EBITDA margin, going forward, EBITDA margin will be 25%. But for the, particularly in FY23 or FY23, it is not fair to compare with the 21 because we need to compare the PAT only. Because if we compare the EBITDA margin, then it will reflect as a 25%. But actual terms, it will be 30%. Why? Because in FY21, EBITDA of rupees 220 crores includes interest cost of 68 crore rupees. However, in FY22, this EBITDA will include only rupees 20 crore rupees of interest. So there is a gap of 50 crore rupees. After this 50 crore gap, absorbing this gap, we will be able to maintain this 25% EBITDA. So on the other side, if we compare the same things, same financial year in terms of the PAT, then in PAT was 8.40% in FY21, and it is going to increase by 6 to 7% in the current financial year, because there is a reduction of interest cost of 45 to 50 crore rupees, reduction in energy cost. Apart from this, we are also looking for significant savings in the area of environment cost as well as the logistic cost. So in nutshell, I would like to add here is that EBITDA margin will be 25%, but in compared to FY21, it is higher by 5%, but it is not reflecting as our interest cost has been will be down from 68 crores to 20 crore rupees. So in that terms, from 8.40%, it will increase by at least 6 to 7%.
Okay, sir. Okay, got it. And can I squeeze in a couple of more quick questions, if you don't mind?
Excuse me, sir. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but may I please request you to rejoin the queue for your follow-up as we have people waiting for their turn. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhijit Akella from IIFL Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you so much, and congratulations on a good set of results. Just a couple of clarifications first. Afzal bhai, so the revenue growth guidance for the next couple of years is in the range of 30-35%. That's correct, right? And we expect margins to remain stable at about 25% at EBITDA level on a reported basis.
Yes.
Right. And on the finance cost, could you just help us understand, Afzal bhai, now with this debt getting repaid, compared to 68 or 70 crores in FY21, what could we expect in 22 and 23?
In 22, the finance cost will be about 22 crore rupees. Because out of this 560 crores debt, we repaid 470 crore on 31st March, and in the first quarter, we repaid 60 crore rupees. And in the next quarter, we are going to repay remaining 30 crore rupees. So considering all these savings, total our cost will be reduced to 22 crore rupees from 68 crore.
And can it reduce further in FY23?
Yes, definitely. From the next year onwards, it will again reduce and maybe in the range of 15 crore rupees.
Got it. And on the cost reduction measures, if you could just talk a little bit about, solar power plant and all the other measures we are taking, how much of a saving in cost can these bring about?
Yeah, particularly if we talk about the solar, then yes, in a conscious move towards reducing dependence on a non-renewable source of energy, and as a cost-saving measures, we already started installing a solar plant for 12.5 megawatt at the cost of 43 crore rupees. And this will give a saving of rupees 10 crore rupees per annum for next 25 years. And if we consider the payback period, then payback will be 4.25 years and the IRR will be 22.75%.
Thank
and
you.
apart from
Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, apart from this, we are also looking for significant saving in the area of environment and logistics, as I mentioned.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of S. Ramesh from Nirmal Bang. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much and good evening. The first thought is in terms of the incremental capex for the additional orders of 1,500 crores or more seems to be typically. So, is there an existing capex which have already done, which is being used for this incremental orders of 1,100 crores and 540 crores you mentioned? And what would be the value of those assets which are utilizing? Just to understand the asset turn.
Yeah, for this 1,100 crores, as I mentioned, we may need to go for the minor capex of 40 to 50 crore rupees for this 1,100 crores order. And for the remaining 540 crore rupees, we have this order from the two customers for 400 crore rupees total order LOI size. We don't need to go for the capex because we can supply from our existing facilities. But for the remaining 140 crore rupees, we may need to go for the capex of about 20 to 25 crore rupees. This we can do from the internal accruals of the company.
Okay, and the second thing is when you talk about your pricing. Sorry, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So, in terms of your pricing and your contractual terms, does it work on a fixed conversion margin, or does it have some headroom for you to retain the benefits of operating cost leverage, like when your capacity utilization goes up, you'll get some operating cost leverage. So would those flow into your bottom line?
Yeah, we have been working on an open and transparent cost model in which the raw material price and depreciation as well as our margin is fixed. So initially we can generate a revenue in the first year of the commercialization of the products. We can generate EBITDA of about 22 to 23%, but by way of process optimization, from the second year onwards, we can generate the EBITDA of about 25 to 26%, and for the next to third year onwards, this can again increase to 27 to 28%.
Okay, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Have a good day and thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Krishna Parvani from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thank you for the opportunity. So I have two questions. The first is, if you could kindly share the capacity utilization during the Q4 FY21, please.
Yeah, in Q4 FY21, the capacity utilization was in the same line as about for the existing manufacturing facilities. You can consider average unit number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Average capacity utilization was about 80%. And for this unit number 5 and unit number 6, average capacity utilization you can consider about 50%.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next question is just that, so there was a sharp jump of about 50% in other expenses during the year. So what was it account of, and what will be the sustainable other expenses after the cost savings?
Yeah, if you see the other expense, then the main reason for increase in other expense is because of the commercialization of unit number 5 and unit number 6. For which in the initial stage of the commercialization, the cost is on a higher side. So, and then going forward, we can get the benefit of the scale of operations, and this other expense can reduce.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Gupta from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir, good evening, and it's Rohan Gupta this side. Sir, first question is on this capacity utilization. So you just mentioned that for the Q4, roughly unit 1, 2, 3, and 4 was roughly 85%, and unit 5 and 6 relatively new unit was roughly at 50% utilization. I understand, sir, your new units 5 and 6 capacity roughly put together is close to 7,000 tons, and we would have extracted almost 3,500 tons from there. So you're talking about that over next 2 years, the growth will be mainly driven by the higher utilization of these units. But effectively, they can only give additional 3,500 tons only on a base of almost 24,000 tons of capacity. So can you just give us some more sense that where we are going to drive this additional growth of almost 30 to 35% in terms of revenue, and what is the potential there on the old units and the new units?
Yeah. Out of this, we can say that from unit number 5 and unit number 6, we can generate additional growth of that we are expecting about 30 to 35%. Again, we can generate additional growth of about 20 to 25% from this unit number 5 and unit number 6 itself. And I would say that we don't need to go by the tonnage to consider the capacity utilization, because all the manufacturing facilities are multi-purpose in nature. So it depends on which product we manufacture. What is the average price of the products which we are going to manufacture in this plant? So it depends on this. So considering that, we are confident that out of this our expected growth, 80% growth will come from unit number 5 and unit number 6. And for the remaining 20% growth, we are expecting from our unit number 4, which was commercialized in 2017.
So, sir, at 50% utilization from unit 5, 6 this year, was this break even, or can we expect that the significant improvement in profitability and margin from the next year when we utilize these capacities judiciously?
Yeah, this plant is we can consider as in the plant there is a sub plant. A plant may be plant A, B, C, D. So in general terms in chemical we can say that 40 to 45% is the break even. But particularly we need to consider this plant wise, because we have a plant A, B, C, D, depend on product line. On the basis of that, we need to calculate. And it depends on the products, whether the break-even point is 40% or 50% or 60%. But overall, we can't say on that.
Okay, sir, second question from me on this line. Sir, on the working capital requirement, which you mentioned that you need to carry a high inventory, which is significantly higher compared to the peers of almost 180 to 190 days. Sir, why it is so that our business model has any difference? Because I think that all the companies are catering to the specialty chemicals, need not to require such a high inventory. Even they cater to similar set of customers which you cater. Any particular difference which we have in our business model, or any particular arrangement which we have with our customers that makes us carry such a large inventory?
Yeah, as I mentioned that in couple of products, we are either a sole supplier or second supplier, in which we have a contractual agreement with customers. And certain agreements require us to keep a minimum inventory because our customers are largely depend on us for their supply chain. And we have been offering a single price to all our customers for more than 10 years, actually, as I mentioned. And considering the size of our company, we were not in position to negotiate. But now we have reached a stage where we can negotiate terms with the customers in our favor, as I mentioned. And in the past, our objective was to establish a strong business relationship and build a trust in terms of quality, sustainability, cost efficiency, delivery on time, and competitiveness. And now we have reached this stage, and we are going to propose to our customers to pass through mechanism or from the to decide the price half yearly instead of annually. And hopefully our customer would be agree, and you will see significant improvement in inventory by end of this financial year.
Okay, thanks, sir. I'll come back with a follow-up question. Thank you.
Thank you. We take the last question from the line of Rohit Nagaraj from Sunidhi Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the follow-up. So the question is on the capex front. So just wanted to clarify. So for the two long-term contracts, our yearly revenue will be about 225 crores and about 100 crores. So about 325, 330 crores. And you mentioned that for the next couple of years, our aggregate capex will be about 50 crores plus 25 crores. So does it mean that with incremental capex of about 75 crores, we'll have revenues of in excess of 300 crores? Or am I missing something? Thank you.
Yeah, with this 75 crore rupees capex, we will be able to execute the order of this total LOI of 1100 crores and 540 crore rupees. But the per annum value would be about total 325 crore rupees.
Right. So the asset turns for So the asset turns for the incremental capex is 4 times as against about 1 times for the existing gross block. Is that right?
No, not 100%, because out of this, there are total in this 1100 and 540 crore, there are total 7 products. Out of which 2 products we can manufacture from our existing manufacturing facilities also. And for 1 product, we need to we need to go for the debottlenecking also, as our plant has a multi-purpose. But I would say that for this 75 crore rupees capex, asset turn would be more than 2 at least.
Right. Thank you. And the second clarification on the 10 crore benefit per year from the solar power. So when we're talking about 25% margins, is it captured in the margins or will it be over and above that?
This will be over and above that.
Fair. Thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Afzal Malkani for closing comments. Over to you. Over to you for your closing comments.
Yeah. So to summarize the discussion, I would like to add here that as specialty chemical market is expected to grow at 12% over a period of next 5 years, and we are in a position to capitalize on these opportunities owing to our long track record of manufacturing of custom synthesis, automated manufacturing facilities, and our established R&D facilities with a focus on cost reduction as well as productivity. So our endeavor will remain to perform better each time and win the confidence of our shareholders. And we will continue to focus on strengthening our 5 pillars: EHS, quality, technical strength, competitive and sustainable business model, and reliable supply and service. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Anupam Rasayan India Limited, this concludes this conference. Thank you all for joining. You may now disconnect your lines.